So the dust has settled on Assin North. The much ado about a by-election is over. The Citi'uation Room is here to give you a quick overview of what happened in that initially close-fought by-election, which ended up really not as a shellacking, but it was a clear victory for the NDC. This is the Citi'uation Room. I am here with a new friend of mine. It's not Umaru Sandamadu. His name is Sami Afi. Welcome, Sami.
Thank you very much, Bernard.
It's good to have you. What have you been up to? What have you been up to these past days covering the by-election?
Covering the by-election, you know, one of the, in quotes, one of the tedious jobs you find yourself as a journalist, putting the figures together, looking at the history of the by-elections, especially Assin North, from where the constituency started till today.
Wow.
It's been quite a journey.
So we've had 30 years of the Fourth Republic. We've had 32 by-elections. So today we'll be answering a few questions.
Yeah.
How many of those by-elections have been won by which party? How many of the by-elections were occasioned by death or resignation
yeah,
or court? And also, what can we learn about Assin North? All of that and more when we come back. Stay with us. So it had been billed as the mother of all by-elections. Indeed, the Kumewu by-election, we're told, was not really that serious because Kumewu is an MPP stronghold. A lot of people thought that the Assin North by-election would be a real test case for 2024. The two leading political parties were there for almost 15 days, every day campaigning. In fact, the pollsters had billed it too close to call. Well, it wasn't that close. The NDC candidate had 57%, James Citi'uation. The MPP candidate, Charles Okuku, had only 42%. So what happened? We'll tell you a bit about that. Sami Afi is our presidential correspondent. The president was there a day to the election, campaigning vigorously. Sami, how seriously did the president and the government take this by-election, and how disappointed are they at the outcome?
They needed this election so badly because when you look at the situation in Parliament, the MPP and NDC are the same footing. So they needed this to add up to their numbers. So in terms of, you know, putting things across, it won't be so much of a difficulty because in history, we know what has happened, E-Levy and the rest, it's been acrimonious in the House. So they needed this particular seat badly, but unfortunately it didn't go well. Remember,
so they wanted a clear majority.
They wanted a clear-cut majority.
So before the by-election, it was what, 136, 136?
Yes. And then the Fomena MP decided to play ball with the MPP. But still, they needed a clear-cut majority.
So sorry, it's 137 NDC, 137 MPP.
Yes.
And then Fomena is independent. But majority.
But they decided to join the majority group. So you term them as a majority in Parliament. But they needed Assin North so that at least it would be clear-cut for the MPP.
So NDC would have come down to
137. No, 135.
No, 136. It's 137, 137.
Okay.
So NDC 137 down to 136. Yeah. Then they would have had 137 plus an extra MP. So how disappointed has the president been? I think he's been speaking about this. What has he been saying about it?
Very disappointed. This morning he issued a statement and said that they needed to win the Assin North seat, but unfortunately the party, so they live to fight another day. That was a clear-cut statement or message in the statement. Because for them, they feel that they've taken enough development to their Assin constituency. Another issue we'll discuss later.
Wonderful.
When people have said that only developments are seen when there's going to be by-election. So for him, he's very disappointed. The political party, which is the MPP, has also expressed disappointment. They issued a statement this morning outlining 3 reasons.
Oh, they gave 3 reasons. So what are the reasons for what happened?
One, they said the James Citi'uation was too popular. Indeed, he had contested in 2020. So the popularity was already there. He also, the General Secretary issued a statement. Secondly, he said the party strategy didn't work.
The party strategy didn't work?
Which strategy, he didn't go into details.
Wow.
And thirdly, they feel that they didn't market their candidates enough. Charles Opoku did not live in the constituency. We are told that he works in Takwa, Goldfield Mines.
So he didn't even vote?
He didn't even have votes in that constituency.
Wow.
And the party attributes that it was too short a time to market
a new candidate.
A new candidate compared to James, who has been there since the year 2020.
So let's go through this again. Number one, they are saying that James Citi'uation was already popular.
Already popular because of the 2020
and
election.
possibly had sympathy votes because of the court case.
Of course.
Number two, their strategy
Didn't work.
Which strategy they won't tell us.
They won't tell us.
But number three, Charles Opoku was not known.
Was not known. And the party had a limited time to market him.
But I thought they brought Charles Opoku because he was doing philanthropic work in the constituency and he was popular.
That's what they always said.
So what
but for him to come out
known?
to come and say that they didn't market him enough and he wasn't that popular is something that you need to get.
So Charles Opoku doesn't vote in Assin, no?
Apparently he was in Takwa because he works with Goldfields in Takwa.
So even though he's from Assin,
he doesn't vote there. And he's never voted in that constituency. So the people in Assin North saw him as an alien in quote, even though he's done a lot of work within that particular constituency.
Wow.
So it was the dynamics were different from when it came to this particular election. So for the general secretary to admit that the guy wasn't that popular and they needed enough time to market it, because he said right from Kumewu they were going to Assin North. So the number of days, you remember they held their primaries hurriedly.
So it looks like the strategy was everybody will go to Kumewu to campaign.
Yes.
Then everybody will finish and go to Assin.
And go to Assin together.
It didn't work.
It didn't work that way for them. So they believe that going forward, I understand tomorrow there's going to be a National Executive Committee meeting where they are going to review the election, review their strategy, and move forward if any by-election is going to take place anytime soon.
So it's fair to say the NPP is very disappointed, which means they actually expected to do better.
They really wanted to win. And as you earlier
said... They thought
said...
they was going to win?
Yes, and as you earlier said, all the polls indicate the NPP was going to win.
Not really, actually, no. Actually, let me be clear. The polls didn't say NPP was going to win. I think we need to correct this. So the polls said that it was too close to call. And that as of the last time the poll was taken, this is the Global Info poll, on 25th August, which is 2 days to voting, the NPP candidate had a 1.1% lead over the NDC candidate.
Yes.
But that was not the same as saying that NPP was going to win. Because indeed, when I asked the guy who was going to win, he said he thought NDC was going to win because the NDC candidate was trending upwards and the NPP candidate was trending downwards. So I think we need to make that correction. Yes, he said it was going to be too close to call, which was not correct. It was 57-42, so it wasn't that close. But the polls did not say, at least from the poll that I analyzed, did not say outright the NPP was going to win. So I think that's a very important point. But the NDC has also issued a statement. I don't know if you've seen Citi'uation's statement. They are full of praise for everybody.
Because they feel they did enough work there. Because they feel they campaigned enough. And one thing that didn't work to the advantage of the NPP, because I had one of these NPP executives telling me that, Sami, right after Sunday's rally, everybody left.
Oh, what do you mean? The election was on Monday, Tuesday.
On Tuesday. The
election was on...
Was on Tuesday. That was yesterday.
Okay, Tuesday.
So the big rally was Sunday.
Actually, yesterday was Wednesday. I'm confused. So Tuesday.
The big rally
so
was
the
Sunday.
President was there on Sunday?
Yes.
When he finished, everybody left town?
Everybody left town. The ministers, the CEOs, the deputy ministers. So it was left with only the party executives.
Justin
Kodia, General Secretary, National Organizer, Nanabi, and only a few, the national chairman and the rest. But the government officials, the ministers, the deputies, all left immediately. The president left on Sunday. So the work was difficult compared to the NDC, who had everybody there.
Everybody was there.
Everybody was there. General Secretary, members of Parliament, Okujato Ablaka, Roxinda, Fia Mekpo, almost everybody who mattered.
MPs were polling agents.
Were polling agents. So for the NPP, they feel that their people didn't man up enough when it came to this party. They took things for granted. That is one of the reasons why they lost this particular election.
I think the NDC has also been strategic in the way they campaign about this.
Yeah.
So the National Communication Officer was the campaign director for James Citi'uation, which is very important because Sami Jemfi is very good with media work. He's also a lawyer. So he's been straddling politics and law, issuing, indeed, this morning, the statement in relation to the stay of proceedings was sent to the media by Sami Jemfi, who is very close. Indeed, when the announcement was going to be made in the collation center, there were 3 people the cameras were on: James Citi'uation, Sami Jemfi, and Fifi Kwete, who is the General Secretary. So the NDC strategy was both communication and on-the-ground politics. As you rightly said, they also had almost everybody who mattered there. Their candidate, Mahama, also went there. And so it seems as if they... and an MP who could end up in jail. I think it's fair to say that backfired because the NDC played on that look, you voted for somebody, he's gone to parliament, he's not been allowed to do his work, he's come for this by-election, which you think is even needless, and the president is threatening to send him to jail. Is the president preempting the judiciary? So it looks like the NPP's campaign message also backfired. Already,
the NDC in the constituency were campaigning on this particular factor as you raised, that the guy is innocent. He hasn't done anything, yet they want to jail him. So in order for you to prevent the jailment in court, vote for him. So he doesn't go to jail. And it works to the advantage of the NDC because they appeal to the sympathy of the people. And you know Ghanaians as we are, Bernard, we are based in sympathy when it comes to these things. So it plays the advantage of the NDC. While they saw the MPP as those persecuting this gentleman, the NDC felt that, no, if you vote for him, he won't go to jail. So that plays the advantage of the NDC.
So, viewers, interestingly, the numbers, I don't know if you've seen the numbers, but the NDC candidate increased the percentage for his party. So initially, the NDC candidate had 54%. It moved up to 57%. The MPP candidate, on the other hand, reduced from 44 to 42. The other point worth noting is that the most recent surviving MPP MP for Assin North was actually interested
in contesting.
She's called Droa.
That's Abna Droa Mensah. She contested in 2016 and won the seat for the MPP.
With 57%.
Yes. So a lot of people thought that if there's a by-election, you would allow this same lady to go and contest. My information is that she made the attempt, but she was prevented from contesting the race.
So maybe that's the strategy the MPP didn't get right. So the other point I need to make is that when the NDC sent out their statement, they were thanking the EC, they thanked the people of Assin North, they thanked the police, which is very interesting, Sammy, because the NDC's relationship with the EC has been checkered, to say the least. 2020 election result, court case, not very happy with Jean Mensah. So to read Fifi Kwete's statement thanking Assin North, thanking EC, thanking police, thanking media. Very interesting, don't you think?
I feel, let's talk about the police. I think this IGP is very proactive when it comes to by-election. You know, before every election, he tries to meet the leadership of the various political parties. We saw similar in Kumewu, and in Assin North, we saw him meeting leadership of the various political parties before the election and issuing directive. A directive most of the members of parliament on the NDC side were not happy with, but yet they complied. So for me, I feel the IGP has been proactive when it comes to by-election. But then the bigger picture is, in the main election, will he be in a position to go to every constituency to meet leadership of the party in all these areas? Or perhaps he will do that at the national level only, and then will not be on the ground to ensure that. And he was on the ground throughout.
It was also good to see IGP, NPP chairperson, NDC chairperson, national organizer Nanabi, General Secretary Fifi Kwete in a group photograph, everybody laughing. I think it sent the right signal, and I feel like that's the way to go. Usually when people see their leaders, you know, when people see their leaders together, it sends the right signal. So if Assin North is anything to go by, the police have done a great job, and I think we need to commend them because initially there were reports of macho men, the police acted very
tension was building up.
Tension was very high. And this is important because for by-elections that have been closed, they've typically been characterized by violence. So, and of course, Kodio sent out a statement saying that the incidents of violence reported should be investigated at least. So all in all, Assin North. So final question to you. MPP said they will see beyond the local issues in Assin North. Is the MPP saying this is not just an Assin North issue, that this rejection of our candidate by 57 to 42 could also mean that generally Ghanaians are not happy? Is that the interpretation they're putting to this?
It's a little more test, if you want to put it that way, Bernard, because currently the MPP, many people will say, is not or are not doing well when it comes to development in this country. So Assin North, all the posts were 50-50 for any of them. John Mahama in one of his campaigns said that this is going to be a test of the popularity of the government. And then we should show, in quote, we should show Ghanaians that we are not happy with what is happening in the country. So your vote in Assin North would determine whether government is doing well or not. So for John Mahama in the NDC, there is a clear indication that Ghanaians are not happy with the current administration. You saw development there, construction of road, cutting of salt for bridges here and there, but yet the MPP lost. So this should be a wake-up call. And this is the second by-election for the MPP new set of executives. Kumeo was a cool job, as they say, because the party stronghold. But Assin North, it's been 50. MPP has won it before, and in the last election, Abna won it for the MPP. So it's a 50-50 election. So they thought that this was a clear test for the popularity of the government, and indeed the government failed.
And the other point we need to make is that the Kumeu by-election as well, even though the MPP won, the turnout was not that high.
Yeah.
And if you take the two elections, you can see that MPP may have a turnout problem because the NDC's numbers, so both parties lost numbers in the by-election for Assin North, but for a 74% turnout for a by-election is high.
Yeah.
So for NDC's candidate, he got only 500 votes fewer. The MPP candidate got over 2,000 votes fewer.
Yes.
So if there's a story in the two by-elections, it's a story of NDC maintaining what they have and MPP not holding what they have. So even though they won Kumeu, you can say that the turnout in Kumeu could suggest that MPP has a lot of work to do to get its people out to vote. So those are the two takeaways from this. Now, we're going to take you back in time now. When we come back, we're going to run through, we've had 8 parliaments, right? 32 by-elections. So that's an average of a by-election every year. Because we have 30 years of Fourth Republic democracy, right? 8 by-elections, 32 by-elections. How many have been won by NDC, MPP, CPP, PNC, independent candidate? How many of the by-elections or somebody deciding that he's tired, so he's crossing carpet? All of that and more when we come back. This is the Situation Room. Today I'm here with Sami Wiafi, who's our presidential correspondent, bringing us inside filler from the Jubilee House. Stay with us.
What are you watching? Football is over. So, I bumped into our boy Jimmy yesterday.
And he tells me that he went over to Kenny's place. So he goes, what's this? Kenny goes, only the best sports money can buy. Well, he got the scoop from Isaac, who says WWE is the business. And his girlfriend Amari, she can't stop saying that ESPN is so lit. But she got the juice from her friend Sandra. So I had to stay connected, because sports lives on GoTV.
It's the dawn of a new day, the day of a competition. From the shores to the pools to the beaches across the land, if you fancy yourself a competitive swimmer, this is for you. The Citi'uation National Swimming Championships is happening on the 15th and 16th of July 2023 at the Trust Sports Emporium. To register, WhatsApp your name, age, and contact details to 0558 973 973 or call 0205 973 973. The Citi'uation National Swimming Championships is brought to you by Citi'uation with support from 97.3 City FM and the Ghana Swimming Association.
Welcome back. This is the Situation Room. There's been a lot of talk about by-elections. We've had 2 major by-elections in the past month. So what we wanted to do next was to give you a short history of by-elections in Ghana. Sami has been doing some research on this. What do you have for us, Sami? So we've had 32 by-elections.
Yes.
MPP has won how many?
MPP won 16. NDC 14, CPP 1, independent candidates 1.
Wow. 32 by-elections. So we are counting, we're in 2023.
Yeah.
So from 1993, this is 30 years. In fact, okay, you could say from 92, because we voted December 92.
Yes.
So 31 years of the Fourth Republic.
Or parliamentary democracy.
Of parliamentary democracy, yes. So 31 years of a parliamentary democracy, 32 by-elections. So it means that every year there's a by-election.
Yeah, averagely.
On average, one a year.
Yeah.
But it's not evenly distributed. It's not evenly distributed. 16, 14, 1, 1. So I think this also goes back to the elections that have been held. 92 NDC, 96 NDC,
Yeah.
2000 MPP, 2004 MPP, 2008 NDC,
2012
NDC.
2016 MPP, 2020 MPP.
Wow,
We are waiting for 2024.
this is incredible. So this is really serious. And in fact, the CPP one, the one CPP one that is there, the MPP did not take part because this was in 2013.
Yeah.
And the NDC guy came second. And then the independent candidate as well. Very interesting. Okay, what else do we have in terms of the by-elections? So this is the first parliament.
Yeah.
This parliament did not have NPP.
MPP boycotted this election.
They
this
boycotted
particular
the parliamentary election.
That was after the 1992 election.
So in the 92 presidential election,
That's when they wrote their stolen verdict book.
so at that time, the presidential and parliamentary were not held at the same day.
Yes.
So when the MPP lost the presidential election, they boycotted the parliamentary
Yes.
election. So all the MPs were either NDC or independent.
Yes.
And yet there were 4 by-elections. I wanted to check some of the names. I saw some interesting names. Some of the names of the people who were replaced in that by-election, I'm sure most listeners will not know this. So the MP for New Edubiase who died is called Mary Gunn. All right, this is the MP. And then this is 93. This is Ashanti region, New Edubiase.
Yeah.
New Edubiase has been a stronghold of NDC.
It was been a stronghold of the NDC until it changed in 2016 when Bright Odro, the former deputy agric minister, now consultant to the Ministry of Agric,
First time
MPP won the New Edubiase seat. In the 2020 election, it went back to the NDC.
So there are 3 seats in the Ashanti, the NDC as well. New Edubiase is one. Asawase is the other. And then where Dufour's son was contested.
Secho Dumasi.
Ejra Secho Dumasi. So Mary Gunn, Gann, died and the by-election was held in 1993. Wenchi East in 95, E. Obing Mensah was the MP. It was a death issue.
Yeah.
And there was a by-election in 95. But again, NDC was the only party, so they won again. Tano South, S.A.K. Asamoah, died in 1995. There was a by-election as well. So Tano South and Wenchi East are Bono. Or yes, Tano South and Tano South is now Bono East. But you can say at the time, no, Tano South is Afro.
Afro region.
But at
that time you would say the brown
so Bono Afro,
region.
yes, so Bono Afro.
Region. Yeah.
Yes, and in 1995, we also had Navrongo Central, John Achuliwo.
Yeah.
He came in as an independent candidate. Right? John Achuliwo came in as an independent candidate.
And then he died in an accident.
Which is weird. So he came by election, and then he left and died, and there was a by-election. In 2003.
So in by-election, out by-election.
Very interesting. So he was replaced by who?
He was replaced by Kofi Adda, who was then energy minister under John Kufuor. May he so rest in peace. He died, I think this year.
He later on became aviation minister, sanitation minister. Wow. So in the first parliament, there were 4 by-elections. 3 won by NVC, 1 won by independent candidate.
Yeah.
MPP didn't contest. So it stands to reason that if MPP had contested, they would have had more success at by-elections. Because they've 16-14-1.
Yes.
And in the first parliament, they didn't even take part.
They didn't even take part at all.
Interesting.
And you also consider that because in 2000, the entire leadership decided to, boycott. They did not want to defy.
Yes.
And that time too, Bernard, NDC was popular. Wallis was popular.
Very.
So it was going to be difficult for an alien political party, you quote, to wrestle power from any of these NDC candidates who are stood out for election in these particular constituencies.
So take me to the second parliament. What do we have?
The second part, we're talking about the second parliament.
Yes.
Of the fourth part. That was between 1997 and 2000.
So this is still Rawlings'
It's still the Rawlings era. So there were 2 by-elections. Lambrosier, which went to the NDC. And
so this is in the Upper West Region,
Lambrosier. Yes. And then
it's now Lambrosier Kani.
And then Ablekuma Central constituency here in the Greater Accra region.
Wow. So Lambusi was Upper West, Ablekuma Central, Greater Accra. Who won the Lambusi by-election?
It was won by a 37-year-old teacher by name Alice Tenny Boone.
Alice Tenny Boone. Wow. She's been MP for, I think, 3 terms.
And then she served in the 2nd Parliament, 3rd Parliament, and the 4th Parliament.
So Alice Tenny Boone came by election.
Yes.
I see. And what about the Ablekuma Central?
The Ablekuma Central constituency, it was occasioned by the death of the incumbent member of Parliament, who was Samuel Crabbe.
Clement Samuel Crabbe.
Yes. He died in an accident. And then the by-election was held, and then the MPP retained their seat because it was an MPP seat already. So the MPP retained their seat, and one Victor Okule Norte won the seat for the MPP. So the party took back their seats in this particular election.
So for the 2nd Parliament, there was no change in the party.
Yes.
So NDC lost somebody and retained.
Yes.
MPP also retained.
Similar.
Okule Norte is interesting because Ablekuma Central, if in my election analysis, if I'm to choose the 10 most competitive constituencies in Ghana, Ablekuma Central is always
one of them.
It moves between MPP and NDC, and the margins are very, very small. So NDC has a guy called Tete Chai, is now the Greater Accra
Regional Secretary.
He's also won that seat before.
Yeah.
It's a very
so
nobody wins it.
He held the seat.
Yes.
And then Ebenezer Na took it from him in 2016.
Yes.
And then 2020 it was taken over by the NDC.
That's what I'm saying.
The one that's still,
so if you ask me to choose the 10 most competitive constituencies in Ghana since 1996, I'll pick Ablekuma Central.
But surprisingly enough, Okule Norte held the seat on 3 occasions.
Yeah, but it's always been close.
Yeah.
So it's not. So a seat's competitiveness is not just whether it flips. There are some seats that always flip, like Adenta. But there are some seats that even though somebody wins, the margin is very small. Ablekuma Central is one. So this is the 2nd Parliament. All right. What about that? So it's only 2 by-elections.
Only 2 by-elections in this particular Parliament.
And both were in 99, a year before the 2000 election.
A year before the 2000 election.
I think the Ablekuma Central victory for MPP was an indication of what was going to happen in 2000. Because Ablekuma Central has been closed.
The call for the change.
Don't forget, Ablekuma Central has places like Abosi Okai.
It's Abosi Okai, Latabi Okoshi, Matayeko. I think Shukura, Abosi Okai.
Yes. So it's a very nice mix.
Yes.
Abosi Okai, you say,
yes.
The MPP people are the traders. But Zongo Junction, it will be NDC. And then Matayeko is...
Surprisingly enough, the NDC, incumbent NDC MP comes from that particular area.
Yeah. So what my point is that this election was a good test for the 2000 election. It indicated that there was going to be a change in government.
Yeah.
Let's go to the 3rd Parliament.
So the 3rd Parliament,
Whoa!
7 by-elections in the 3rd Parliament.
And by blue, are you saying MPP won all?
MPP won all. This is during the Kufuor era.
My goodness.
So you could say that people were happy with the Kufuor administration.
Wow! 7 by-elections, all won by MPP.
All won by MPP.
Okay, let's look at the places. Kumewu is Ashanti, no surprise there.
No surprise.
Bembila was Chambers.
You mean Chambers?
He was NDC.
Yes, he was a minister during the Rawlings era.
And then he got
an appointment to serve in ECOWAS. I think Secretary General of ECOWAS or something.
And
so
then
he had to leave the seat. He had to resign.
Oh.
That was what brought in Dominic Nituo.
So he was executive secretary of ECOWAS.
Yes.
And this by-election was won by a young... I remember there was a book written by Dr. Afebi about Dominic Nituo. We wrote a book about 15 influential young Ghanaians. Nituo was 25 years old. He was a 25-year-old teacher. Amazing story. So it was actually written about 25 years old teacher to win the seat in 2002. So MPP won. So this was an NDC seat MPP took.
Yes.
What about Wolensi?
Same Wolensi. It was MPP won that particular seat. The report is that there was an accident, the death of the incumbent member of parliament for the area. They went for the by-election. The MPP retained its seat. So it was initially an MPP seat.
So MPP
the
to
MPP
MPP.
Won the seat.
So Kumewu is MPP to MPP.
Yes.
Bimbila is NDC
to MPP.
Wolensi is MPP retaining MPP.
Yes.
Navrongo Central was which one? That was the Achuliwo. Independent candidate.
Yes.
And then he had an accident.
Unfortunately.
And MPP won Navrongo Central,
yes.
Joseph Kofi Ada. Then
so it was after this election that Kufuor appointed him the
Deputy Energy Minister.
Yes. And then subsequently became the main energy minister.
Viewers, one of the things we'll look out for is how many people who have come by election have gone on to become ministers. We'll try and find out. There are some very big names in government who have come by election, and we'll find that out very soon. So there's also Gomoa East. MPP won it.
MPP won it.
Central region, Gomoa East.
Yes.
Amenfi West is in the western region.
The western region, MPP won that particular seat. The then member of parliament for the area resigned. I think Abraham Asante or so. He resigned for an international appointment. And then Agnes Sofo came in.
And this was an NDC seat.
It was an NDC seat, yes. Yes.
So NDC lost Amenfi West after their candidate or their MP resigned.
Yes.
They lost Bimbela after Chambers took an appointment. Upper Dentra, I think what happened. I'm not sure what happened Upper Dentra. You will know. You follow these things. I don't know.
I did follow. It was the same incident as we've always seen, where unfortunately the incumbent members of parliament will lose their lives in the course of their duty. So the EC had to arrange for a by-election. The MPP retained the seats.
So let's go through this.
Okay.
MPP maintains this.
Yes.
They flip this one. They maintain this. They flip this from independent. They flip this from NDC. They maintain this.
That one.
I don't know about this guy. Gomoa East, I have to find out. We'll see. So far, 7-0.
Straight up.
Wow.
You'll put it that way.
So this is Kufuor's first term.
This was Kufuor's
So you can say
first
this
term.
was the best.
This was Kufuor's
This was
first
the
term.
best time to be an MPP president. So NDC was really struggling because this is where Mills was the candidate, had lost, Rawlings fell out, all kinds of things. They were trying to repackage him.
Yeah.
Not good for NDC, very good for MPP. So this is the third parliament. I hope we are doing well with time. Can we move to the next one? The fourth parliament. Whoa! This is interesting. 3-3.
You would say this one was evenly split.
Okay.
So Asawasi 2005, that was the introduction of Muntaka.
So
Famous
Muntaka came by
by-election. The incumbent member of parliament for the area had left, Dr.
Alhaji Jibril.
Jibril. So Muntaka came in as a young, fresh individual to take over. And indeed, he
So
won
Muntaka,
that
2005, 2009, 2013, 2017.
And he's been there till
2021. And he's going to go again.
He's going to go again because he won the party's primaries recently.
He came by by-election.
Yeah.
I covered Ododio in
Ododio,
2005.
yes.
I was a fresh City FM reporter. This is the first by-election I covered. Let me tell you the story. So NDC had a candidate who won the 2004 election. So Ododio was big. It was the biggest constituency in Greater Accra. The NPP had won it in 2000 when Reginald Nibi Ayibonte, a tech-trained architect and now a lawyer, defeated the former interior minister, Ni Okainte Adamafio. It was a big result. 4 years later, NDC brings an old fisherman. It's called Mankata. Samuel Mankata comes in and defeats Ayibonte in 2004. Unfortunately, he dies early 2005. When he dies, MPP in government decides to put his son. The family is an NDC family. MPP goes to put his son
To come and contest
on MPP ticket because they thought that his popularity would translate to the son. Because the man died. Because the campaign of Mankata was, the MPP people were, Nibi Ayibonte was very eloquent.
Yeah.
And they were teasing the older Mankata, he wasn't that eloquent. The older Mankata who died. So I feel MPP felt that the bad blood that Ayibonte had generated, if they maintain Ayibonte for MPP for the by-election, he would lose. So they went for Mankata's son. And the NDC went for Nitaki Komi, who's a royal. So Nitaki Komi for NDC defeated Mankata's son, the NDC man's son who was running for MPP. So this is what happened in 2005. So NDC maintained, it's very funny. So, these by-elections are usually the spouse or the son.
Yeah.
So in this case, MPP's strategy backfired. So Mankata's son couldn't win. Couldn't win the seat for him.
So Kome took back the seat for the NDC.
Yes, Nitaki Kome took the seat for NDC, maintaining, because Mankata hadn't even served 1 year when he died. So his son, Mankata's son, who MPP took, we don't know where he is now.
But Ben, over the years, has this strategy worked? Replacing a family member or even a spouse for a by-election. Has it worked over the years?
Look, if Mankata was the NDC candidate, he probably would have won, as in the son of the older person. Yeah. But I think the way MPP went about it, and the way it was covered, it didn't, because they don't know him as an MPP person. And the people know their people. And Taki Kome is very known. He's a man, he's from the royal family, they know him. So he won it easily. It was built to be a very competitive election. He won it quite easily.
Because then time when you hear the audio, a lot of things come into your head. And even till now.
It's a big place.
It's always news when audio is. But
and then the other point is that since that time, Neil Antevanapo has taken over from Taki Kome. Yeah. And he's won it, I think, 4 times.
Back to back. Offensive South. What brought about the by-election was that the incumbent member of parliament, Dr. Kwabena Safo died.
Okay.
And so Dr. Citi'uation won the seat for the MPP. That was between 2009 and 2013 when the MPP won that seat. So he replaced the MPP.
So it was MPP for MPP?
It was MPP for MPP.
For those who are interested, the Deputy General Secretary of NDC, Barbara Asamoah, this was her first foray at a constituency. She ran for the NDC. She got like 30% of the vote. Barbara Asamoah. She's now an NDC leader.
She's the Deputy General Secretary.
Yes, but she ran this by-election and of course she didn't win it. Tamale Central was also very big.
Yeah, tell us about Tamale Central.
This one, I think this was one of the spill-offs of the Dabon crisis. So Wayoseni was an MPP person.
Okay.
And I think he didn't feel happy the way the government managed the killing of the Yana. Yeah. So we were covering Parliament, and I think Sky has a story. We were covering Parliament one day, and then he literally got up from the MPP side and crossed carpet. Said he's going to leave. He was basically leaving the MPP because of the way they managed the crisis. So in our law, once you leave the party that you were elected on, you have to lose your seat. So he left in anger, and then they had to have a by-election, which Yunus Afuseni won.
So that brought about Yunus Afuseni.
So Yunus Afuseni's entry into parliament was.
So he's been there
until 2000. Yes. So Yunus Afuseni took over from Wayoseni, who crossed carpet. That was a very tight election because there was also a CPP candidate, I forget his name now, but he was a very respected CPP person who ran in that constituency as well. So Innocent's victory should not be taken lightly. It was a strong victory. I'm seeing Fomena here. Fomena is already big in 2023.
Yes, it was.
Fomena 2007, what happened?
Well, there's not much information about what really happened in that particular by-election. What really caused this by-election in Fomena. But in Fomena has always been, will I say, big news. Remember what happened to the who is now serving second deputy speaker in Parliament? President Akufo-Addo went there. Said all the things he wanted to say about this gentleman, but he decided to be how would you put it, Bernard? The stone the builders rejected.
So the MP who died was called Kwesi Efrifa. Kwesi Efrifa 2007, and then I don't remember the name of the person who replaced him. But this is what happens when a by-election is competitive. So the Dodio was big, Tamale Central was big. In Kranza North was very interesting, which is the last one.
Yeah.
Who tell me about Kranza North? This is the
so in Kranza North, the member of parliament there was Eric Amwati. You remember he had an issue with the U.S. government, so
he was jailed.
He was jailed for drug-related offenses. There was a by-election that was won by Major Derrick Odro. He served as a deputy minister of defense in the first term of the Akufo-Addo government.
Major Derrick Odro came by a by-election.
Yes, he came through a by-election.
When they realized that Amwati couldn't come back.
Amwati wasn't coming back. That was after he was jailed in the U.S. So Major Derrick Odro took over from then till the year 2020 election when he didn't run again. So that's the history of the Nkranza North.
So just a quick clarification. So Wayoseni was in NDC, crossed over to the MPP over some issues around the Dabon crisis, which then occasioned the by-election, which the NDC Yunus Afuseni won. So it wasn't the other way around, just to clarify. So Wayoseni was an NDC who crossed over based on some disagreement. Yeah. And that by-election, NDC still maintained the seat. So just a quick question. Thank you for the clarification, Richard. So 3-3. So let's just go back before we go. So first parliament, it wasn't really competitive. So NDC 3, 1 independent. Second parliament, 1-1. Third parliament, so second parliament, 1-1. Yeah. Third parliament, 7-0.
Straight up.
Fourth parliament,
3-3.
When we come back, we'll tell you about the fifth parliament and the sixth parliament, and then we'll tell you about the 7th and the 8th. This is the Situation Room. Today is a bit of history about by-elections, just to give you a sense of how it's going. I'm here with Samiri Afi, and we'll bring you more when we come back.
The day of a competition. From the shores to the pools to the beaches across the land. If you fancy yourself a competitive swimmer, this is for you. The CTTV National Swimming Championships is happening on the 15th and the 16th of July 2023 at the Trust Sports Emporium. To register, WhatsApp your name, age and contact details to 0558 973 973 or call 0205 973 973. The City TV National Swimming Championships is brought to you by City TV with support from 97.3 City FM and the Ghana Swimming Association.
Welcome back. This is still the Situation Room. We are reflecting on Assin North. The NDC's Citi'uation won comfortably, despite all the predictions to the contrary. I'm here with Samiri Afi. We're going through a quick history of by-elections in the Fourth Republic. There have been 32 in 31 years, one by-election each year. First Parliament, the by-elections were 4, 3 won by NDC, 1 by Independent. Second Parliament, 1-1. Third Parliament, 7-0 MPP. Fourth Parliament, 3-3. Sami, talk to me about the Fifth Parliament.
There were 3 by-elections here.
3 by-elections in the Fifth Parliament.
Chirponi, Jirakpa, and Etiwa. But now what happened in Chirponi?
Chirponi is in the northern region. This is 2009. The NP is Doris Seidu. She was an NPP member. She died and was replaced by Samuel Jabanyite. Jabanyite has been in parliament since.
Yeah.
He's a long-serving member of parliament. Samuel Jabanyite won that by-election. It was a very fiercely contested by-election. 29 September 2009. Doris Seidu passed away August 2009 after a protracted illness. It was an MPP seat, which Samuel Jabanyite took. This was a very violent by-election.
Very, very.
2009.
So today, people still talk about it.
NDC had just come to power. Mills was president. Don't forget that the margin between Mills and Akufo-Addo in 2009 was less than 50,000. Mm-hmm. There was stain and all of those things. So this was a lot of bad blood from the 2008 election that MPP felt they shouldn't have lost. So, and the NDC won this by-election. It was a very close by-election. NDC won it. And the rest, as I say, is history. Samuel Jabanyite has been there. 2009 was rather sad for Jirapa because this is Idris Saleh, one of the most respected Rawlings ministers. He was a minister of transport, minister for roads, died and was replaced in a by-election. NDC won. Upper West Region is a very strong NDC area. MPP doesn't do too well there. So Jirapa was maintained by the NDC. You covered Etiwa in 2010.
I did. Etiwa, the incumbent member of parliament, died. His name was Kwesi Ankoma. So that introduced the current member of parliament for roads and highways, Kwesi Ankoma, Terminator as we call him.
So he's now MP for Etiwa West.
He's now MP for Etiwa. So in 2012, it was divided into 2. Okay. We had Etiwa West and Etiwa East. That's when Abna came in and then he went in as well. So the main Etiwa in 2010, he was the member of parliament for there. He came through the by-election. It was this particular area that now President Akufo-Addo made those infamous statements of all die be die now. Etiwa yechomo bibi kakra. It was in this particular area
2010.
that 2010. And Etiwa was more or less a bit notorious when it came to this by-election because some pockets of violence were recorded. NPP supporters or people within the circles of the party believe that it was a way to show revenge for what NDC did to NPP supporters in Chiponing.
Oh.
So it was payback time.
So and it was an NPP stronghold.
It was an NPP stronghold. The seat was held by the NPP. And so NPP needed to do everything to maintain that particular seat.
So Terminator came to Parliament in 2010
through a by-election.
Amazing.
And he's
now
been there,
one of Akufado's most trusted
yeah,
ministers.
and he's been there till.
And Etiwa is now East and West. So Etiwa East is Abuna
Osei, Deputy Finance Minister.
Etiwa West is Amakwanta. And Etiwa is quite close to Abuakwa.
Yes. I think there is a like they share. They share the same way.
Wow. So in the fifth parliament, it is 2-1 for NDC.
Yes.
Jirapa was cool.
You
notice that when the by-election is held in a party stronghold and it's not competitive, there isn't that much of an issue. So Chereponi, where NDC took over from MPP, was where you can say modern electoral violence
started.
and Etiwa followed suit. So 3 in the fifth parliament. What about the next parliament?
So this is the sixth parliament. We had 7 by-elections in this particular election.
7 by-elections?
Between 2013 and 2016.
The sixth parliament.
7 by-elections.
Wow.
So we had the Akachi South constituency, Buem constituency, Kumbungu, Talensi, Amenfi West, Ebuakwa North, and Abetifi in the eastern region. So 6 by-elections, 7 by-elections in this particular parliament. Akachi South, that was when Doa Jao.
So Doa Jao had been nominated to be the Speaker of Parliament.
Yes.
So once you become Speaker, I can't be MP. So it necessitated a by-election, and NDC won comfortably. Very low turnout, I should say. We covered this. Buem was interesting because Buem was the MP was called Henry Ford Camel.
Yeah.
He was a Volta Regional Minister. He died on Christmas Day, 2012. So after he was voted to be MP 2012 December 7.
Yeah.
He didn't even see the new year. He died on the Christmas Day. There was a by-election. This by-election, I think Kofi Adams had wanted to contest.
He was then the Deputy General Secretary of NDC then.
For some reason, the party didn't allow him to contest. And a certain Kosi Asiama ran for... And now I need to say something about these 2 by-elections. The MPP within these 2 periods was doing election petition. So MPP boycotted, in fact, they boycotted this one, and Kumbungu as well. So these 2 happened within the election petition, so they didn't take part. And these were also NDC strongholds. But this one was very interesting because even though they didn't take part, the NDC couldn't win it.
Yeah.
The NDC couldn't win it. The CPP candidate won it. Yeah, the CPP candidate, I'm trying to get his name.
But what prompted this by-election in Kumbungu in 2015?
So the funny thing, Alhaji Mamemuni was MP for Kumbungu. In 2004, he was the running mate for Mills.
Okay.
Into the 2004 election, and he lost.
Yeah.
Mills lost the election. And then they brought Mahama in 2008. But he was a highly respected NDC MP. He was appointed the General Secretary or Secretary General of the African Caribbean Pacific Group of countries when it comes to these global negotiations. He was very good on the Foreign Affairs Committee, so he had a lot of international stature. So when he got the ACP appointment, he had to then leave the jurisdiction because he can't combine that job with being MP.
Yeah.
So that occasioned the by-election, which interestingly, even though MPP didn't take part, NDC could not retain. Right, so
it was won by the CPP.
Yeah, the CPP is called Alhaji Imoro. I'm trying to remember his name. Yeah, the
Alhaji
CPP.
Imoro Yakubu.
No, the CPP candidate was called Amadou Yaya. Amadou Yaya. He beat the NDC's Alhaji Imoro Yakubu.
Oh, okay.
And the MPP didn't take part, but there was a strong view that MPP was supporting the CPP guy
to win the seat.
Yes. So even though NPP didn't take part, it is believed that the MPP supported the CPP candidate. Now, Talensi is one of the few so this was elevation to speaker.
Yeah.
This was death. This was elevation. This was also elevation. He didn't die. This guy is still alive.
Yes, he's still alive.
He's the chief.
He's the chief of Talensi.
The paramount chief of Talensi traditional. Yeah. So And that's very interesting. So he left MP to become paramount chief for his people, which I think is very exemplary, right? It's like, look, let me lead my people. MP is by the vote. My chieftaincy is by divine right. So that was the Robert Musori. He became the paramount chief of the Talensi traditional area. Yeah. And this is interesting because he was an MPP, one of the few MPP seats in the Upper East region. This was the power election that brought BT Baba.
Yeah. I remember before the 2016 election, Nana Akufo-Addo, then candidate Akufo-Addo, had gone there to campaign. And when he went to his palace, and the conversation was that you'll be one of us, so help us win this particular seat.
So that was the chief. So NDC flipped this one, CPP flipped this one. This was maintained. This one was an NDC seat. The incumbent died, and then MDC won it. Yeah. Very close, actually, 52-48. So this by-election was not that straightforward. Amenfi West. Don't forget there was an Amenfi West earlier
on. That was due to resignation until this one came with them.
So John Jetua died, and Eric Afo won 52.6%, as against Paul Dechi of MPP 43.5%. So it wasn't that. Now I need to also say that this one, just like NPP didn't take part here, NDC decided we're not going to take part in this because this is JB Dankwa in
Ebuakwa North, yes.
Gruesomely murdered February 2016. Yeah. By-election held in March. NDC said they wouldn't take part for sympathy reasons. It was a very peaceful by-election. Giftichum Ampofu. She has a position in NPP.
She was Deputy Education Minister.
First time.
Yes, first time.
Giftichum Ampofu won a by-election. Very peaceful. And she had 89.9. Now, this is an interesting one because you are from. So tell me about this one.
Okay, BTF. The incumbent MP then, Prepra Wiafe, died.
You're saying Prepra
Wiafe.
Are you related to him?
Not really. I don't know about that. And then he died, and then that's when Brian Echampon was introduced into the co-enclave. You remember Brian had contested in Suwon on 3 occasions with Opare and Assin. Things didn't work out for him, so he decided to move to Abetivi, where I'm told his mom comes from. So he decided to go and contest this particular
seat. Where his father's side didn't work, his mother's side
worked for him. He went there and then he won the seat convincing. Now he's minister for.
Now the NDC didn't take part because they said it was about 6 months to the main election.
So
and they thought it was a waste of money. Brian also got 89% of the vote. So very interesting point. Both NDC didn't take part here, 89. NDC took part, MPP didn't take part here. So it was division. Now, in the latest round we have, in the 7th parliament, there was only one by-election.
Only one, yes. That's the Ayawaso West Wogon constituency.
Lydia Seram Al-Hassan. Her husband died.
Emmanuel Chematia Jako. And
she won.
That's my constituency, so Ayawaso West Wogon. So I have a bit of identification there. So Mr. Jako died, and then Lydia ran for election with Kwesi Delali.
Delali Brempong,
who was representing the NDC then.
NDC said the boycott. NDC eventually boycotted the election because I think there was a lot of violence that day. So they opted out.
After this by-election, there was a famous Ayawaso West Wogon commission to look into the violence that ensued during this particular by-election. The report came out. A few things were said when Sam George was assaulted one way or the other.
So in the 7th parliament, only one by-election.
Only one by-election.
So the 8th parliament is where we have Kumewu and Assin North. Very interesting. So if you go through the numbers, MPP 16, NDC 14, CPP 1, Independent 1. So I also was Wogon. It's Lydia Seram Al-Hassan, who was the spouse of the incumbent. This is Enim.
Yes, Kumewu and Enim.
This was also after the death. So this is death. Baswa. This is death. This is the most interesting because this one, the MP is still alive. It's a court. The court
actions,
and the people have got him back. So this is it's almost like the judiciary say you should go. The people still come.
The MPP is also predicting that there's going to be another by-election because he still has a case in court.
And are they going to pursue the case?
They're still going to pursue it.
But if they do, if they say that he has sympathy votes and that their strategy backfired, don't you think that continuing the strategy means that whatever they do in 2024, They will anger the people of Assin not more.
And whichever candidate they bring,
Yes.
because they believe that if Mr. Kwesi loses the current court case, he may go to jail. He may
They
not
want to put
contest.
him in prison.
He may not
But
contest.
it's not parties that put people in prison. It is courts. So we'll see what the court does. Wow. So viewers, we've tried to give you a quick sense. So I think that the Assin North by-election is unique in the sense that it's the only by-election that the incumbent MP took part in. The rest of the by-elections, they were either dead or resigned. So this is the only by-election that the incumbent took part in. So it sets new records. And it's the second. I need to say that in 2020, the MP from Fanseman East was shot.
Yeah.
But it was less than 3 months to the election. So his wife, Ophelia, was fielded by the MPP in the main election. So we would have had 33, but just that it was too close to the election. So by our law.
But the EC regulations say when it's 3 months election, there's no by-election here.
Yeah. So we hope you've learned a couple of things about by-elections. We've been talking about the 32 by-elections in 31 years. Incredible. And the backstory behind some of these by-elections as we build our knowledge in our political history. Sami Rafi, our president correspondent, has been here with us. Sami, thank you so much for being with me on the show.
Thank you very much.
We hope to have you again soon. Umaru Sanda Amadu is basically still from the Salah. I think the Salah has taken over, so he has he's having post-Salah meat distress. That's the new sickness. It's called post-Salah meat distress.
So which of them go to a cow?
No, it's a cow. So he's had post-Salah meat distress. So when he comes back from the Salah, we'll introduce him next week and he will take over. Sami, thank you. My name is Van Keep watching City TV. We'll be with you next time. Bye-bye.